Good evening, everyone. Welcome to tonight's episode of the Clown Hour podcast. I'm your host, Scott Perks. My co-host is Dwayne Nash. Check him out. See that smile on the Yard Slash HBCU Sports, raps about all things HBCU sports, as well as Sleazy Radio every Tuesday night on Facebook Live. He's still smiling. He's still cheesing. Check him out with him, coaching his crew. It's very entertaining. Facebook Live every Tuesday night. You don't want to miss it. As well as his great work on herosports.com, raps about FCS athletics as it pertains to HBCUs. As for me, check out the website, The Klown Times, www.theklowntimes.net. That's my sports blog. You can check everything out there. I have recently published, in the midst of publishing, my division by division NFL preview. Hopefully COVID won't kill it, but I'm in the process of doing that. I've done the AFC East, AFC North, and I worked on the AFC South earlier today. So check that out, please. Please feel free to share and comment. I'd appreciate that too. And we're gonna do an NFL preview 2 weeks from now. So this gives you a little taste of how I'm thinking. I'm about to off my guy Dwayne here. He's gonna have some thoughts too. So get ready for that in 2 weeks. But also, please subscribe, hit the subscribe button, get more subscribers, and hit the bell button so you get notifications when I put out outstanding shit like this. So if you want if you want to stay in the know, please subscribe, hit the bell sign, and also feel free, as same thing with my blog post, please feel free to share, comment, like, or dislike. Just as long as you're doing something, okay? And last but not least, of course, get the merch. That's where I get this from. That's where we got his from, right?
Get the merch.
CafePress.com. Search for the Clown Time Sports. The actual link will be in the description when this puppy gets uploaded to YouTube Friday morning. You find it there as well. So we got a lot to get into. We got some college football news that happened last week. Well, right at the day after our podcast last week, as a matter of fact. As well as the Western Southern Open here in Cincinnati, Ohio. And we also got a little bit of NFL news as it pertains to one Tim Tebow. But we'll first start with college football, since it happened earlier after our podcast last week. This talk, remember what the SEC did in poaching Texas and Oklahoma. I should say Oklahoma and Texas. Oklahoma has been more successful than Texas, but that's not here nor there. But the point is, they've actually formally invited Oklahoma and Texas to join the Southeastern Conference, into which both schools have accepted it, unanimously accepted. So now we all know that the SEC is going to be going from 14 to 16. It's a matter, is it going to happen in 2025 when the current grant of rights expires in the Big 12, or more than likely it's going to happen before that? Because that's going to be an awkward 4 more years.
Yes.
To be in a conference where you don't want to be, and the current conference inhabitants in the Big 12 do not want your ass anymore. So I'm guessing this is going to be the last year that they're going to be in the Big 12, because both Oklahoma and Texas, especially Texas, have deep pockets enough to pay back that money due to the grant of rights, the grant of rights penalty of opting out early. And I'm guessing that the SEC and their lawyers will book a plan that helps Oklahoma and Texas eventually get paid when they officially push the escape button, the eject button, if you will, from the Big 12. So the point, the last 2 weeks were, what are the other conferences going to do? The Big 12 already met with the Pac-12 first. But then last week, the Big Ten and the ACC met up with the Pac-12 to talk about an alliance. So 2 things. Not only is that going to practically kill the Big 12 at this point as a Power 5 conference, but this is a united show of strength against the SEC aggression. It is, dude, it's crazy. But before we get to specifics, give me your thoughts on this, because it's like you knew something was going to happen. you figure it's going to be a poaching of other schools from the Big 12 or whatever. But these guys, the Power 5, the reigning Power, well, other be Power 4, coming together, the ACC, the Big Ten, and the Pac-12, 3 different conferences, 3 different parts of the country. That's huge. And I'm going to go into why that's huge, but give me your thoughts on what you're saying with this, because this is crazy.
Yeah. You hear often, get ready or stay ready so you don't have to get ready.
Right. Yes.
And I've been one who is probably looking at this whole SEC move probably a lot less underwhelming as everyone else.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, yes, you're adding in a huge brand like Texas. You're adding in a huge brand like you're adding in 2 huge brands, Texas and Oklahoma.
Right.
Now, this is basically a football move. Let's be real.
Yeah.
And if we're looking at it as such, the only real gem here, let's be real, is Oklahoma.
Right.
The hope is that Texas gets better.
And that's the brand. Texas is the brand. Texas is the brand.
Texas is the brand.
Right. Yes.
But Oklahoma is the talent right now.
Right. Yes. And the brand too.
Yeah, and the hope is that you can get the talent level back up to the brand the brand level that is Texas.
Right.
The thing is, though, that's going to be extremely hard in the SEC when you already got brands and talent of Oklahoma, of Alabama,
NFL light. NFL
LSU.
light. It's the NFL light.
Right?
That's
you
what it is right now.
got the other, the 4 or 5 other teams which will make the NFL 36, 37 teams right now, right?
Right.
And Georgia, Auburn, LSU, Alabama. You already got them, right? And you bring it in Oklahoma. You already got a team in that conference in Tennessee that's looking to regain its old prominence already. I still believe Texas needs to take a page out of, or look at that page of Nebraska, what's going on in the Big 12 as a precursor of what could happen to them.
Mm-hmm.
But with all this talking, I understand how everyone believes that this is going to make that the SEC that much stronger. I still say, how strong will it really be once you start getting into November, December, January, February? You start talking about basketball. That's another conversation for another day, right?
Yes, it is.
So
totally, yeah.
But I digress, right? So, with all of this fear of what could potentially happen, everyone is expecting the other Power 5 conferences to do something, and that's exactly what it seems like it's going on. There was conversation of everyone expanding. Now there's conversation of conferences linking up and doing things together. There's, of course, the potential talk of merging conferences to create this
Big
mega
12 and
conference.
Pac-12.
Yeah, to create this mega conference or mega conferences to compete against the SEC. And my thought on that is, whoa, Nelly, to take a page out of Keith Jackson, since we talk about college football.
Nelly.
You know,
yes.
just slow down a little bit. Slow down Kemosabe.
Mm-hmm.
You know, big balling is my hobby. I say wait and see exactly what happens if the SEC actually succeeds or if it doesn't become as big as everyone believes it's going to be.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, to kind of double talk that, yeah, be prepared for what might happen, right? Because if it does become big, you're going to have to do well, you know what? Do they really have to do anything to compete? Because what would be the benefits of merging these conferences to technically compete against the SEC? I have to ask that because it seems like no one's really asking that question. Everyone's like,
what's the cost benefit analysis, right? What's the cost benefit analysis of that shit? Yeah.
Of course. What's the purpose of doing this? Because what does that necessarily benefit? These schools within these conferences already are brands within their own right, especially within their respective regions. It's not going to say that, oh, now that Oklahoma and Texas are in the SEC, someone from Michigan is going to watch. No, they're going to continue to watch Michigan and Michigan State.
Correct.
Same thing can be said about those that live in Florida. No, they're still going to watch Florida State if they weren't, especially, and they're going to still watch Florida State and Miami. Yeah. Especially with UF being in the SEC. They're not going to switch allegiances just because the SEC got bigger. Yes, people will keep eyes on it because, yes, traditional college football.
People in the Midwest, to your point, in the state of Ohio, it's not going to all of a sudden switch and watch Alabama play Mississippi State. They're going to still watch Ohio State play Purdue, Ohio State play Indiana, Ohio State play Michigan in the big game, and so on and so forth. Ohio State, Penn State. We get the point, right? So
of course,
I totally agree with you. Totally agree with you.
If anything, they'll just be poaching the Texas and the Oklahoma fans that were in the Big 12 to come over there. That's about it, really.
Right.
Other than that, okay, what does it benefit them? It benefits them financially, but again, it's still their fan base in that region. You're not necessarily grabbing more eyes to your conference. They're still going to have the same eyes coming there outside of that region.
Sure.
Two, by coming together, does that really necessarily benefit you? I mean, I understand ways in which it can benefit by those conferences competing with the SEC to get additional playoff spots. And yeah, it can. But you know what? Do I necessarily have to? Well, I don't have to merge in order to do that.
Right.
We can just have an agreement. We've talked about this before on the show.
Yes.
Where
that's the easiest way to do it. Yeah.
Yeah, they're already doing in college basketball with the Big 12, with a Big 10 ACC challenge. You can do the same thing in college football where you end up having this round robin challenge every year. Matter of fact, it's the same thing basically that HBCUs have been doing for years, where they were primarily at one point in time classics when you had someone from the MEAC and the SWAC face one another, or maybe the SWAC and the SEAC for regional purposes. And the same thing with the MEAC and the CIAA.
Yes.
The same thing can be
it happen
done
for years and years and years and years.
Yeah, and it happened for years. The same thing could be done on the Power 5 level. I always say this, and I'll continue to say this. The blueprint exists somewhere, right? For success in anything. It's about understanding what your plan is, finding that said blueprint, and making it work for you. And that's exactly what these conferences could do. I don't think necessarily a merger is necessary, but taking that same idea that they use in college basketball and bringing it to college football would be wonderful. And you know what that also would do? It would boost up your OOC or your strength of schedule rating when you're looking to get at large bids within your conference. The only conference, though, that I still believe it would be a detriment to is that Pac-12 and probably the Big Ten too. Because what happens with them? A lot of times they struggle outside of their conference. Correct. And then you add in the fact that they like to beat themselves up in their conference too. So what happens?
Especially Pac-12. The Pac-12 is notorious for cannibalizing itself like that.
Oh my God!
That's what cutting out the college football playoff for the last few years.
Exactly right. And it's always been a funny situation where someone in the Pac-12 takes an early lead and they always stumble against some trash team like Oregon State or you know what? And let me not name another school because if I keep going on this path, we're going to have Pac-12 people hating us too. So, but that
let me, Kate, but go ahead.
But yeah, that's what happens with the Pac-12, and in essence is what's kind of happened in the Big 12 as well, where you have your conference winner, but that number 2, number 3 team always ends up stumbling against another team, giving them their second loss within the conference too. So it can be a benefit, but it can also be a detriment. So what say you? What are the benefits of said agreement and or merger in this type of situation?
I agree with you. We're sharing a brain on this, brother. And I swear to the listeners out there, viewers out there, we did not talk about this beforehand. We're kind of our own opinion. So I agree. To me, if someone's going to be eating up another conference, it'll be far easier if the Pac-12 did it to the Big 12. Because because if you're the Pac-12, you're looking to expand to a different part of the country because your ass is getting killed by these late starts because you're on West Coast time. No one wants to watch a game 8 o'clock on the East Coast, or more, 9 o'clock on the East Coast, when your ass is winding down from watching the ACC, Big Ten, and SEC games. You want to chill.
Yeah, legit 66% of the country is probably, you're coming on late for 66% of the country. I'm not going to say that they're not watching, because somebody on the East Coast and in Central Time is
they're
watching.
diehards everywhere, yeah.
But they're diehards, right?
Yeah. And
also alums. But still, it's that huge section that the Pac-12 has to be concerned about because of their time zone and things that they have to worry about. So yeah, I completely agree with you on that, bro.
So, which means that if you're Texas Tech and Oklahoma State, those are viable options to get into that footprint, because that's that R word, recruiting.
Yeah.
They could get some of these Texas kids and Oklahoma kids, well, that big ass talent pool is, and pull from that, because you'll be able to sell to mommy and daddy or grandpappy or grandmommy. You can get to see your kid play. You can get to see him play like a UCLA or a USC or Oregon and Washington could say, you can get to see your son play in person in the state of Texas or in Oklahoma, at least once a few times a year. So, I mean, yeah, I mean, but if you're the private schools of the TCU and Baylor's of the world, you're asked out. Yeah. You're going anywhere. But I'll say this too. I think the more likely scenario is those three leagues, the ACC, Pac-12, and Big Ten, having some type of alliance, because you hit on the head and you pretty much echoing this guy like Ralph Russo. The great Ralph Russo wrote a column on the Associated Press, and basically asked the question: why would the ACC, Big Ten, and Pac-12 form an alliance? He broke it down to two areas. He broke it down to scheduling revenue and the college football playoff and post-NCAA policy making. So we already touched upon the scheduling revenue.
Yeah.
Like also The Atlantic did an article. Someone The Atlantic wrote an article. I should say The Athletic, not The Atlantic. The Athletic wrote an article on how this alliance would solve the 4 million viewer problem. What the 4 million viewer thing is games that garner at least 4 million views. Like the SEC has an abundance of those every year. Any game of Alabama, mostly. Alabama, Auburn. Any game with Georgia, Florida, LSU even. Texas A&M as well. Like the ACC has only one of them. That's been with Clemson the past few years. You know, I think the Big Ten had them with Ohio State and Michigan and Wisconsin, among a few. And the Pac-12 has one with Oregon, mostly Oregon, and I think SC as well, USC. So Ralph Russo cooked up these made-for-TV market games. And tell me if you're starting to salivate on these possibilities. Southern Cal at Clemson. Ohio State versus Miami. Penn State versus Florida State. Oregon versus Michigan. So basically, some of these games are happening this coming season. Oregon is at Ohio State.
Ohio State, yes, sir. I'm looking at the schedule right now.
And Washington is at Michigan on September 11th.
Now,
so,
not necessarily sexy, but same day as Ohio State, Oregon on was that September 11th?
September 11th.
You got Cal TCU, and you also have Texas A&M at Texas A&M and Colorado for the Big 12. Well, not Big 12. What conference were they both in? Weren't they both in the Big? They were both in the Big 12, right? Yeah. So you got that old rivalry there, and then Washington, Michigan. Yeah. So I could. Yeah.
So there you go. And so if you cook up those, if they cook up some more matchups like that, or even hell, you could expound even more. You could say, damn, I'm just spitballing here. Michigan, North Carolina. You know, Purdue, NC State, the battle of the cow schools, you know, the engineering schools. Things like that to garner interest, because you have Power 5, well, about to be Power 4, going against Power 4. Okay, you got those guys playing against each other on a year-to-year basis as your non-conference. So the others, to address the second portion of what Ralph Russo mentioned, the college football playoff. I mean, can you imagine? Like, first of all, it's ironic that it was created by the commissioners of the SEC, Big 12. The SEC about to kill the Big 12, by the way. The Mountain West and Notre Dame with the objection that each of these have an agenda. Notre Dame wants access. The Mountain West wants access on the part of the group of 5. The SEC now come to find out wants to accommodate more teams because they're going to have a stronger conference, right? With Oklahoma and Texas. So basically they're going to look to capture 2 of those 6 at-larges, right? At least 2 of them.
Yeah.
Because they're going to get at least 2. Let's just be real, right?
Let's be realistic, yeah.
So, but just think about this for the other at-larges, right? Especially with the ACC, which is just Clemson in the 13th drawers at the moment, right? So if say like if outside of Clemson, North Carolina and Miami, they like lose only 1 or 2 games, right? But have non-conference wins over a fellow group of fellow Power 4, especially the likes of a Wisconsin or they would say Ohio State, Michigan, Oregon, Washington, SC, even things like that would help North Carolina and Miami's cases to get an at-large. So the ACC to get more than 1 at-large, or at least 1 at-large. Same with the Big Ten, same with the Pac-12, especially that would really help the Pac-12 because they don't have the exposure as those other 2 conferences, and not including the SEC. So that there, I mean, and also the policymaker, right quick, that's the ACC, Big Ten, and Pac-12. That's a huge voting block against the SEC. That's a power play move as far as influence over college football going forward. So that's like used as a, hey, wait a minute, we have to be the check and balance on the SEC's ass because they're growing more influence, more stature in college football with all these brands. But we got this voting block right here, which we have brands as well, not as many as the SEC put together, but together rather, we got brands, we got voting blocks, we can mitigate the SEC takeover, if you will, in college football. So this is like risk. This is in response to the SEC's power play right here. This is a response. So that's why I think, to your point, seeing this take place is probably going to be more likely right away to happen sooner than a conference poaching other squads, even as likely as a Pac-12 poaching 2 of the Big Ten schools that I mentioned right there, just for recruiting reasons. So yeah, but it's a trip, man. I mean, college football is a gift that keeps on giving, man, especially in the off season.
Oh yes, and to see, like, I'm doing a search now. Okay, I didn't even want to do 2020 because, of course, I'm starting to look at all sports that have happened in 2020.
Right.
With an interesting eye. Right. Yes, it happened. I refuse to be like everyone else and put an asterisk on it because if you want to be that way about it, right, Bamas, you could legit put an asterisk on a whole lot of seasons, right? And as a matter of fact, I saw a meme where someone had an asterisk for every basketball season dating back to 2012 on why that champion shouldn't have been a champion.
Yes.
A lot of them will BS, but I'm like, okay, if we're going to have this argument, hell, we can do this for a lot of other sports for a lot
Which is why it's a stupid thing to do because, I mean, hell, it's not those teams' fault that certain things broke their way. You gotta play the games in front of you.
Yes.
You gotta play. That's all you can do. So I wouldn't hate on anybody in any sport for winning a title, but go ahead.
Yeah, the reason why I say that is, of course, people like to bring up asterisks because certain superstars get hurt.
Yeah.
Or somebody gets
happen.
Somebody gets suspended, or certain team doesn't play that year, or just whatever reason you want to list for asterisks potentially, they're out there, right?
Right.
The only reason why I say that about 2020 for sports is because we saw a lot of things that weren't necessarily consistent from what we're used to seeing in terms of dominance, right? With Milwaukee Bucks winning the title, it's been 50 years since they won one. Who was that? Baylor that won the men's basketball tournament this year in NCAA?
Beat the hell out of Gonzaga, yeah.
Yeah, but Baylor's not necessarily a basketball powerhouse.
Right.
But, I mean, they won the title still. So there's just a lot of spaces. The Buccaneers, Yes, they got a lot of talent on that team.
And the Super Bowl at their home stadium.
Home stadium. There's something that doesn't happen.
Yeah.
You know, would they be another team? Well, I mean, yes, they're going to be a team that's going to be in the mix. That's a whole nother conversation for 2 weeks from now. But still, there's a lot of stuff in sports right now that's going on where I've been like, I don't know. Is this COVID related or not? Let's find out. If these teams are consistent, maybe it's something I can believe in. And the same thing could be said about with the 2020 college football season. Even though we got a champion that we're used to, the whole ranking system, right? I wanted to go back to 2019, see what that top 12 looked like. And I'm like everybody else with their conspiracy theories. Okay, there could be 3 SEC teams in there. There could very easily be 2 to 3 ACC teams in there. Same thing for Big Ten. Pac-12 will oddly enough get a team or 2 in there. So it'll be interesting to see how everything. That's why I'm like, why is everyone panicking because of one additional school? That third school. I'm like, everybody's just calm down, see how this plays out, and then act accordingly. But at the same time, plan. But it would be great for the likes of the Pac-12, like you said, if and I'm still trying to understand, why are they having 10 o'clock games? I understand it's prime time for them on the West Coast. The thing is, though, you can't be mad at East Coast fans that you're putting your best teams on during your West Coast prime time if you want East Coast fans to watch.
And have you heard that they're going to start doing noon kickoffs or 1 o'clock kickoffs Eastern Standard Time, which means it'll be in the morning time
for them. Time. You know what?
Because of that.
Yeah, I get it, but at the same time,
that's going to hurt them, though.
It is going to hurt them for playing football. Like it happened actually during this past fall where they had a couple of games on early. Well, actually, no, they had our game on early because they had to move it.
Yeah.
Where they ended up playing at like 9 o'clock Eastern. Well, not 9, but noon Eastern. But my thing is, don't necessarily fully have to concede to what the East Coast is doing. Just have more of your games played at 4 and 7 o'clock. We'll watch. It's that 10 o'clock game. Everybody's like, stay up to watch these Bamas play against Arizona at 10 o'clock.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah,
no,
have more
really.
games. Have more games at 4, no later than 7 o'clock out at their time. 7 o'clock.
Yeah.
No, 7 o'clock out time, I should say, because 7 o'clock their time is 7 o'clock out time. We don't want that.
Yeah. You know what? No, have your games like that, right? But let that be like Arizona State. Let that be Oregon. See, now I'm going to get in trouble for down in these schools too. So, yeah, I'm not going to continue to do that. But I'll say this. Your schools that don't have as much eyes or many eyes on them, move those games to 10 o'clock, 10:30. Let them be those late games that only the region would care about. Put the games that garner national attention on either at 4 p.m. or 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And I guarantee you'll get more East Coast eyes on those games.
Well said, well said. So it remains to be seen what's going to go down with this said alliance. It's not going to happen right away, obviously. It's going to take a little time. I mean, but I would say this. Expect, hell, maybe this season, but expect, especially for next season, on the off season, to hear more about this and steam picks up. But while I said all that, I still think there's probably going to be some poaching going on. It won't happen as soon as this alliance stuff gets mapped out between these 3 conferences, if that's the plan moving forward. Either way, the Big 12 is in the world of hurt as a Power 5 conference move, as a power conference move before. I think they're on death watch. They're on death watch for the next 4 years because
They are. But I'll say this, and I've said it before on the show. I still have faith in them. I still believe that they can turn this around, and if they get the right schools, they'll be right where they currently are, the 5th best Power 5 conference. That's number one. And yeah, I'm gonna need the rest of the world to not be afraid of this invisible bully, aka the Gooch, out here. That is the SEC until it actually happens. Then you go ahead and start acting accordingly. But as of right now, based upon what everyone's saying right now, I really don't see it.
Right, exactly. So going from college football to professional football, we know that we're in the middle of NFL preseason. Yay! And the regular season is like what, 3 weeks away? I think it's 3 weeks away.
Yes.
Wow, less than a month. Come on, September. But anyway, one note that's noteworthy here: Tim Tebow has been fired. Well, I should say cut. It's the same thing, right? Yeah. But he's been cut from the Jacksonville Jaguars and his latest comeback attempt in the professional sport. Now I will say this: I'm not going to bag on Tebow. Sure, he's a pup hound. Sure, he loves the attention. Sure, he's used his name to get these types of opportunities. Because let's be real, if his name wasn't Tim Tebow, would he been able to get a baseball contract with the New York Mets organization after not playing baseball since high school? No. And if his name wasn't Tim Tebow, would he be able to get an opportunity to not only play in professional football for the first time damn near 10 years, but do so at a different position? Former quarterback to tight end. Answer is hell no. No one would get that opportunity.
You know what, though, Scott? I'll say this, right? It's not necessarily just the name of Tim Tebow. It's what he did for who he did it for. And you add in those two ingredients to that. Urban Meyer and the fact that he won a Heisman Trophy and they won a national title together. You mix that in together. Urban Meyer's first job in the NFL level. That's my boy. I also understand that, hey, he's a year away potentially of getting his pension. Let me go ahead and bring him in so we can get that. You know, if he can at least if he can prove himself and be good enough to make the roster, one up on him. But we also found out that, hey, he's not good enough. And if you're not, I'm going to have to cut you. And that's exactly what happened.
Yeah, because you saw the highlights, man, when they played Cleveland.
Yeah.
Dude whiffed on 2 blocks. And I know the first one was the guy who was a 5th string outside linebacker crashed out too hard, and Tim Tebow kind of lost his footing when he gave him the forearm shiver with his off arm, which you should do, right? Because he's left-handed. He did with his right arm. So he did right, but he looked like he whiffed. And he probably did whiff a little bit, but the fact is that the guy crashed down too hard because he didn't know what the hell he was doing either, which made it look like stupid. He probably got cut himself today as well, or like before today as well. But the second one was when he just totally whiffed on the defender near the goal, near the inside the 10-yard line. And it's on YouTube somewhere. That's when you're like, man, how do you watch that as a head coach and still keep that guy around on the roster? You can't do that. Because other guys are looking at that and going, are you serious?
Yeah.
Are you fucking serious? If that was me, I would have been walking out yesterday. Turning in my playbook yesterday. So he had to do that. Or Meyer had to do that. But the thing is, like, why, if you really want him the chance to succeed, even if, first of all, why would you allow him to play a position he's never played? Because it's totally different playing quarterback. Yeah, the dude is 275. Yeah, he's big as a house. Yeah, he's beefy. He's not fat. He's kind of beefy. But still, it's a different thing from playing a quarterback. He's naturally a quarterback.
Yeah.
Because he has to go catch the ball, go run pass patterns, block. That takes some want to block. That's different. It's more like playing defense in the NBA. You have to have a rebound. You have to have a rebound, want to and desire. You can't go in and half-ass, you're going to get your ass kicked. That's how blocking this is in the NFL, especially at that level.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So, and of course, the pass catching passes, he's never done that before. Why, if he's going to make him a different position, why not making him an H-back? Or fullback?
You know what?
Because he did a lot of running in college. Or jump passes at the goal line.
Yeah.
Why not? Because he put him in a position where he can't. It's like putting a person in a position where he's going to destined to fail. He's in a position to fail. Put him in.
You know why? You know why not H-back? He's probably not fast enough.
Yeah, especially given that he hasn't played in the NFL in damn near 10 years.
Yeah.
So
that's,
and he's
that's
a bigger
probably
guy
why
at that.
Most definitely. But yeah, there was no way in the world we're going to see him at QB, especially if I'm Urban Meyer, because we just drafted a QB who we want to be our future. I don't necessarily want his mental to be diminished because he has to hear questions week in and week out about his play and whether or not he's going to be replaced by Tim Tebow.
Yeah, I'm glad you said it because what a fucked up way to ruin your quarterback's confidence. Your overall number one overall picks confidence and having Tebow mania on the sidelines if he struggles. Yeah, he's going to struggle. He's a rookie.
Yeah,
and plus Tim Tebow is a native of where? Jacksonville, Florida.
Jacksonville. Yeah, and see that was the thing that people were even talking about.
All those Florida alums.
Of course. Yeah. But that was the one thing people were talking about even before training camp even started. Was at what point will Tim Tebow start as quarterback for the Jacksonville Jaguars? Dude, can we even get him on the field first before you even start?
Thank you.
Yes. But see, I'll say this, right? This is what happens when you have nothing else to talk about and you have to bring up some sort of fodder to get people talking. Right. And one of sports' greatest talking points is Tim Tebow. And the quarterback position, if you combine those two things together, right?
For Urban Meyer.
Especially as it pertains to professional sports. So you get those two things together, man, people are going to want to talk. That's why we got it. But at the same time, I'm like, this dude's not going to be good enough to play quarterback in the NFL right now because he was barely good enough when he was in shape to do it. So let Trevor Lawrence prepare himself to get himself ready for his rookie season without any additional distractions, and he'll be fine. So yeah, I'm just glad, not necessarily that Tim Tebow is without an NFL job, but at the same time, let's be real, he's done well for himself, and he's done well for saving his money. And what else? He can go right back to doing what he was doing before he was brought into Jacksonville, which is television. So that won't be an issue.
And he was good at that. He was great on the SEC
and he was
network.
Good at exactly. So he can saunter himself right back to that, and he'll be fine, right? Yeah. But yeah, I'm just glad that it's over, so we can just stop talking about Tim Tebow during the football season. That's the main thing, because I'm like, they're reasonable football experts that are spending way too much time analyzing Tim Tebow.
Yes, I totally agree. ESPN and Fox Sports, especially, you guys are guilty.
Yeah.
I'll say this one last thing too, to put a red bow, hopefully, on the Tim Tebow phenomenon.
Or maybe an orange one.
There you go. Here's the thing. You said it earlier. Tebow is not. I know. I heard this talk about Tim Tebow's a bust. Tim Tebow's a bust. He's not a bust. Not for what he accomplished. He got to accomplish. First of all, for him to play in the NFL and take his team to the playoffs, that's impressive enough to defy all odds and win a playoff game.
Yeah.
He's not a bust, people. He is not a bust. He played 4 or 5 years in the NFL. For him
I think it was 3 or 4.
3 or 4. Okay, gotcha. But still, that's the average amount of the length of a career.
And it is, yes.
So
right?
He did that, and he made good money. Right? He had some success. He did win on that level, not the championship. But he won a division title. So, I mean, with the Denver Broncos, people shouldn't hate on him that much. Because to your point, he's made some money, made some more money doing the broadcaster thing. He seems like a very, very smart and sharp dude. He seems like a very good dude. So he seems like he's doing well for himself, and God bless him. He got to live his dream. He got to be a quarterback in college, or high school level, collegiate level, won a Heisman, won 2 national titles, goes to the NFL, gets drafted in the first round, then the following season leads the Denver team from a 1-4 start to win the division and win a playoff game against my Steelers in overtime. Damn you, Ike Taylor, and I do get that. But still, even after they got the asses kicked the next round by New England, the point is that, hey, there's no shame of losing to getting your ass kicked by Tom Brady in the playoffs, and Bill Belichick in the playoffs.
No.
He had a damn good career. It's not stellar, it's not great, but he wasn't a damn bust. So
yeah, can we be real about this real quick?
Yeah.
He was the 25th pick in that year's draft.
Right.
How many busts do you see from the number 25 spot? He was legit damn near a second round pick. That's real.
Yeah.
Is he really a bust?
Exactly.
That's the 25th spot.
Yeah, thank you for saying it. Because it's not like he was in the top 10. It wasn't like he was a top overall pick.
No.
He's the 25th pick of the draft. He wasn't expected to play much of this rookie year anyway.
No. I mean, let's be real. Yeah, he won a Heisman Trophy. Yes, he won national championships. He was still the 25th overall pick. There were 24 other teams that didn't think much of him at the time, and the Jets were like, we need a QB.
Yeah.
Because was it the Jets who drafted him? Was it the Jets?
The Broncos.
The Broncos drafted him. And they already had a QB. They're like, we need a backup. Let's see what happens.
Yeah.
You know, let's go ahead and have a quarterback battle.
Yeah.
You know, all the other organizations that needed a QB passed on this man. Denver had one in place. Oddly enough, Tebow beat him out and was able to take the team to the playoffs. Dude, he was not a bust.
Yeah.
He was not a bust.
So let's stop with that. Stop with the look. I teased him too about being a pub hound, but you know, the dude wasn't a bust. He had a damn good career in the NFL.
Yeah.
So let's just put that to rest. So we're going to move from the NFL to tennis. So why are we talking about tennis? Why the hell you Negroes talking about tennis? Well, I'll tell you why. There's a tournament happening here in Cincinnati, Ohio, actually in Mason, suburb of Cincinnati, called the Western and Southern Open. And one of the participants in the Western Southern Open is Naomi Osaka. That Naomi Osaka who took a leave of absence, if you will, from the French Open and Wimbledon to focus on the mental health issues. Now, before we delve in, we've done a podcast segment on this when it went down at the French Open, during the French Open. And as is the case then, we are still in support of Naomi Osaka.
Yes.
Taking care of her mental health needs. And that goes without saying. So this is not that's not going to be a tournament on any of our parts. We're still in agreement with what she did. We still applaud her for what she did, than what other people say outside of tennis or whatever, right? This is the thing is what got me is she talked to the media basically via Zoom for the first time since all that went down, right? Outside the Olympics. And so being in Cincinnati, she was like, one of the things that couple of things that took place. A, she was in tears because of this question regarding the earthquake in Haiti. Someone asked her about Haiti and the earthquake, and she's obviously just half Haitian, half Japanese. So when she broke down, because she's talking about her dad's people, right? Her dad's relatives. And so she broke down, and so she was still the reporter who asked that question said, "I'm sorry, my bad." And so she said, "No, you're super cool," right? So basically, she goes and answers that question. But the main one was a gentleman from the Cincinnati Enquirer by the name of Paul Doherty, one of my favorite columnists in sports, period, not just here in the area. He asked her a question where a lot of people were probably going to be wondering if that question is going to get asked, or who's afraid to ask it, and that is regarding her deal with the media and having a platform in social media. So this is what the quote was from Paul Doherty. Quote, "You're not crazy about dealing with us being the media, especially in this format. Yet you have a lot of outside interests that are served by having a media platform that is a social media platform. So this question was, how do you find a balance between the two?" And so Osaka asked him to repeat the questions, which he did. And so what happened was she kind of struggled answering in terms of like finding the words in the media. The moderator was like, "Do you need to take a break?" And so they came back. Everyone regrouped, and she was like, she just went on to answer the question, I should say, in a very honest manner. So Osaka's agent later called the reporter a bully, and which led me to go back and look at this, watch the Zoom exchange on Zoom. And to me, Paul Daugherty asked the question that any seasoned reporter would ask. It's like, okay, you obviously don't enough comfortable doing like press conferences, even if it's via Zoom. But you have this platform which requires you to use a lot of social media and use the media to, to serve you, to actually share your platform, to share your interests, to share your views. So he was just asking, how do you balance it? How do you find a balance in that, right? And so he published a response, a column on the Cincinnati Enquirer in response to this, which I thought was very, very interesting. And it's basically he titled this, Paul Daugherty. He titled this, Naomi Osaka is honest, thoughtful, and could help many other athletes. How does that translate to him being a bully?
That I don't know, Scott, and that's why I find it so interesting. Because of course, you brought this to my attention. I still haven't watched the video, and I will as soon as we get off, because I want to see exactly how this exchange went down. And the reason why I'm super curious about it is because the writer says one thing, but there's a lot of response from the rest of the media that feels completely different. Now I'm reading this from Eurosport.com. They follow tennis and other sports. And his reporter's name is James Walker Roberts, that referred to the question as being aggressively toned. And then he goes on to say that, not just Walker Roberts, but there's another reporter who was there by the name of Ben Rothenberg, who tweeted out, well, that went well for a while until it didn't. And then followed up with another tweet that said 4 cues in or so went smoothly. Naomi was doing well. Then someone from the Cincinnati Enquirer asked her a fairly aggressive tone question about how she benefits from high media profile, but doesn't like talking to the media. Osaka tried to engage, but after her answer began crying. And then, of course, Osaka tweeted out, "Thank you for everyone who stayed and watched my practice at Cincy Tennis. I was really nervous because it was my first time practice in front of a lot of people since COVID started, but it was really nice to see everyone out again." Okay, so that was basically her talking about her appearance. But yeah, her agent also said, and you alluded to it earlier, let me see if I can find that quote one more time. Yeah, the bully at the Cincinnati Enquirer is the epitome of why player-media relations are so fraught right now. Everyone on Zoom will agree that his tone was all wrong and his sole purpose was to intimidate. Really appalling behavior. And the fact that everyone else sees it one way, and the reporter from the Enquirer, and as well as your own assessment of Osaka's response, seems to be something completely different. So I'm going to have to watch this to have my own take on this situation. Not to say that either one's interpretation of it is completely wrong, because I know a lot of people are going to look at it with whatever type of eye they're going to look at it. And I know a lot of people are going to be extremely sensitive to a lot of different things, especially as it pertains to Osaka and her relations with the media now, based upon everything that happened when she made her announcement. But yeah, for everyone to have polarizing views on how this thing was done, I'm going to say that everyone look at it and also read the reporters from the Cincinnati Enquirer's article to get his perspective as well. Yeah, this is going to be interesting. Yeah, so I would encourage you to look at, if you're able to listen to the Zoom and also read Paul Daugherty's response on the Cincinnati Enquirer. Reading it again, I mean, I found it to be, I don't think he was being defensive at all against her. If anything, he praised her in that article. So yeah, it's very tricky, especially what's happened, to your point, with Naomi Osaka this year. But again, reading it, I would encourage anyone out there to read Paul Daugherty's article
The title's called Naomi Osaka is honest, thoughtful, and could help many other athletes. And just do a search for that and just make y'all's conclusions and watch the press conference you can watch and make your own conclusions. Because I don't want to see, again, I'm not changing my mind about Naomi Osaka. I think she's dope. I think she did a good thing by minding her own mental health. Damn everybody else. I still am in support of all that. That has not changed. I just don't want people out there to throw the reporter under the bus for doing this job.
Of course.
Because it's a question that you knew someone was going to ask her that. Mm-hmm. He just happened to do it. And he's old school. He's been around for 34 years. He dealing with the Bengals and the reservoir team. So, I mean, that doesn't count as anybody. I don't know what does. But anyway, especially the Bengals. But the point is that I don't know. Shout out to the Bengals fans here. But I just didn't have a problem with Paul Daugherty's question. I just don't have a problem with it. So anyway,
I'll say this though, but in closing, cancel culture is dangerous, right?
Yes, it is.
I'm not pointing any fingers at nobody. I'm not saying anyone's done anything because I haven't seen it yet, and I haven't taken my own personal assessment. But just as a whole, stuff that we've seen for the past year and a half, cancel culture is very dangerous, everybody. And we need to be a whole lot more cognizant about how judgmental we're going to be about anyone, especially for people who are doing their jobs. That's all I'm gonna say, dude.
And well said, especially a guy in the media like you now. So well said.
I ain't never scared. I say stuff, and I know sometimes it's gonna come off and sounding off left.
I ain't never scared. No. Okay.
But all I know is within the next couple of weeks, I'm gonna start saying some stuff that a whole lot of people probably won't like. But hey, deal with it.
There you go. That's the media. You gotta do your job. You gotta do your damn job.
Just do your job. And my thing is this, right? Because I know a lot of times, especially as it pertains to the media, especially media and sports, a lot of times we could just be a lot of people expect us to say things to be incendiary. Yeah. I may say incendiary things, but they're things that I believe in. And I understand that people may not agree with the stuff that I believe in, but all I'll say is match up what I'm saying with facts, right? And see what you walk away with. And if what I'm saying is false, and you call me out about it being false, you know what? I always publicly will come out and say when I'm wrong. But when I'm not wrong, ooh, boy,
that's when the pettiness comes out.
Ooh, you gotta hush your mouth. Hustle your mouth.
Oh man. And with that note, it takes us to the HBCU sports segment brought to you by absolutely no one, where we get to bless y'all. Well, by we, I mean Dwayne Nash gets to bless you with HBCU sports knowledge that many of you would probably do not know about. So Dwayne, the floor is yours, my man.
Boy, we are 1 week away from the HBCU. Well, actually, it's the college football season from starting. Let's be real.
Yes.
Week 0, August 28th. We're talking about the MEAC SWAC Challenge, Alcorn State, North Carolina Central. Even though it might be a little far-fetched for Central, I know Central fans is going to be a little hard for y'all to hear me say this, but this potentially could be a Celebration Bowl preview. Now,
that's big of an A&T alumnus would say that, but go ahead.
No, I'm saying that because, yes, Alcorn State, the team that won the conference the last 2 years. Well, I'm sorry, 2 of the last 3 years with Alabama A&M winning the last year. But let's just be real. The last 2 years in which Alcorn State played, they won the conference. They didn't play this spring. Now they Bizak with their all-world quarterback, Felix Harper. There is a chance that they could go back to Atlanta one more again, right? Central, on the other hand, they're still rebounding. Yes, they have all-conference running back Isaiah Totten. Oddly enough, I'm about to talk about him a little bit later. But yeah, they got all conference running back Isaiah Totten on that squad. Right. But they are coming into the season, I think, if memory serves me, as the preseason ranking is 3rd in the MEAC, behind South Carolina State and Norfolk State. So they're going to have to beat the both of them. Don't know if that necessarily happens, but if they can, then yes, this week 0 game of Alcorn State and North Carolina Central could be a preview to the Celebration Bowl, which has never happened before, where the two teams that have met in the MEAC SWAC Challenge faced off against one another in December in Atlanta. So this is going to be interesting to see exactly how everything plays itself out. And of course, I'll be ready for week 1. Probably watching from home. Thank you, COVID, and thank you, Bammers out there who didn't get your shot early. But I digress. The big news of the week, of course, the Black College Football Hall of Fame released its watch list for the Jones Award. For those of you who are unfamiliar with the Jones Award is named after, of course, the great football Hall of Famer, Deacon Jones, who, of course, went to both Mississippi Valley State and South Carolina State, both HBCUs, for those who don't know. So their Player of the Year award is dubbed the Deacon Jones Award. So this is the 5th year. No, this is the 6th year they're doing.
What is it again?
I had to do the math in my head. This is the 6th year that they've done the award. They're doing the award. They released their watch list. Their watch list consists of 56 players from 27 teams from 5 different conferences. And one of those players, oddly enough, is Isaiah Totten from North Carolina Central. So it's going to be very interesting. To do a quick breakdown by conference of where the players are being watched from. The conference with the most players on the list, of course, is the super conference that we've been talking about for the past year, the SWAC. They got 20 players from said list, with players from Florida A&M, Alcorn State, Alabama A&M, Alabama State, Southern, and Mississippi Valley State and Jackson State. God, am I missing one? I think I am. So follow me on social media. You'll get the exact breakdown, the full breakdown by player, by school, and by conference. Also, to continue that breakdown, like I said, SWAC has 20. The MEAC and the SEAC both have 12. The CIAA has 11, and the Big South has 1. So you can imagine who that one player is. For those of you that don't follow Black college football at all, that one player from the Big South, of course, is North Carolina A&T's own superstar running back, Jermaine Martin, who has predicted that he's going to run for 2,000 yards this season, which is going to be phenomenal.
Watch out
he
now.
Can do that.
Watch out now.
That's big talk for the player. I think I'm going to go ahead and put my own wager down on that, on whether or not it happens or it don't happen. With that said, I will be breaking down for herosports.com this watch list, who to keep an eye out for, and snubs from this list. So look out for this article. Should be coming up within the next couple of days.
And this is on herosports.com. Good.
Yes.
And what's your handle on social media so that if you miss
Yes, my handle on all social media platforms. That would be Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and now Snapchat. I don't know exactly what I'm gonna do on Snapchat, but I had to go ahead and get the handle, Playboy. It's the Yard HBCU. I am connected all throughout social media with the exact same handle. You won't be able to get it mistaken. That's the Yard HBCU. And of course, my website is even the Yard HBCU. So I am universally connected throughout all platforms with that same name. I am not hard to find if you're looking for me on these streets.
There you go. All right, which takes us to our final segment, random shit. Have you heard about that interview that Draymond did with Kevin Durant earlier?
I did not.
It's on Bleacher Report. It's a
okay.
He has like Draymond has a series. I think it's called Chip on Shoulder or some shit like that. I'm gonna look at
Lord Jesus. And you got Kevin Durant involved in this?
Yeah. So basically, like it's Draymond's show. But he's had other guests on there before, right? So it's really a trip. It's really a trip. So basically, they said that they both agreed that the Golden State Warriors in 2018 mishandled that incident where basically Draymond cussed at Durant and went at him.
Hmm.
And so, because they both was pretty much saying it's a series called Chips,
Uh-huh.
named for players who have chips on the shoulder, right? Mm-hmm. It's called Chips. It's on YouTube. It's on Bleacher Report's YouTube channel. But anyway, long story short, like Durant told Green, he asked him because after Green asked Durant how much the argument played a part in his decision to lead the Warriors. Durant said, "quote It wasn't the argument. It was the way everybody, Steve Kerr, acted like it didn't happen. Bob Myers, I think he's the owner or the GM, tried to just discipline you and think that would put the mask over everything, and basically." He said, like Green said, he had a message for Myers and Warriors management when the group asked him to apologize to the rest. So basically, they were trying to make him apologize, but both Durant and Green thought that it would better serve if they just handled it themselves, which the team didn't allow them to do. So basically, Green told them, this is what he told Durant, he told them, quote, "Y'all about to fuck this up. I said, the only person that could make this right is me and K." Talking about Durant. And there is nothing that y'all could do, and y'all are going to fuck this up. And in my opinion, they fucked it up. Responded Durant, and Durant responded, quote, "I think so too." So there you go. And Green, keep in mind that Green is still a Golden State Warrior.
The Warrior, yeah.
On top of that.
Yeah, I mean, I'll say this, right? Because I still believe that there should have been a way. Well, I believe, because I didn't realize that was potentially a cause for him leaving. And if it was, my God, I'm going to need your skin to be that much, a lot more. Dude, did your skin... Yeah, I'm going to say it. Kevin Durant, did your skin get thin when you went down to Austin? When you left district,
wow!
When you left
from the DMV to Austin. Wow, I see.
I mean, he's from right outside of DC. You can legit walk from the area where he's from to DC. I mean, we're a little bit tougher than that, bruh. Okay, so he didn't let you handle it then. That means, you know what y'all could have done as men? Handle it as men on your own time and done something about it. Why did you have to go through the organization in order to handle it as men? I just found that to be weird. And then that played a part in you leaving? I don't know if you really wanted to be there then. Or if it did, then, I would need you to get your skin thicker than that, bro. I just am. I'm slightly disappointed. I am.
Yeah. Well, I think it was a clusterfuck when it happened then. And it could be a clusterfuck going forward because, again, Green is still a member of the Golden State Warriors. Yeah. And Steve Kerr is still his coach. Bob Myers is still there. Still the GM, man. So it's a trip, but yeah. I mean,
but you know what? Draymond knows what his role is at G State, and he knows that team, once everybody gets back healthy, is a legit threat to win that conference again.
Oh, hell yes. With Klay Thompson back healthy to go along with Steph, and of course with Green, Green's the leader of that team. Let's just be real. And also like their draft pick last year, they played at Memphis. I forget his name. Escapes me. But he turned on this year. And Green has taken him under his wing. So Draymond's a huge influence on that squad.
Yeah.
So he knows he's not going anywhere. He knows
they got a lot of talent on that team.
Yeah.
Yeah. And he knows it's stupid for him just to walk out that door. It's like, if I'm gonna win another chip, I might as well just stay where I'm at. What's the point?
Right.
Leave? Yeah. Yeah, that's dumb as hell.
Yeah. So their Golden State's gonna be fine. And Green knows it's gonna be fine. Durant's obviously fine. He's in Brooklyn. Yeah. He's balling with his boy Kyrie. And he gets James Harden back. He and James Harden back healthy. I think it's Brooklyn's title to lose from the East. No disrespect to Milwaukee. It's probably going to come down to between Milwaukee and Brooklyn, to be honest with you. Like, they were the two best teams, and I thought they were the two best teams all basketball last season. They're having to meet a round two early in the in the Eastern Conference semis, the Eastern Conference finals. Yeah. Because both squads are better than Philly, in my opinion. And that proved it because Philly lost to Atlanta. But anyway, that's not here nor there. All right, I guess we can call it, bro.
But I got a couple real quick.
Oh, go ahead, please.
Well, number one, since you talked about Philly, we got to talk about that extension that your boy Joel Embiid just received. You know, huge hometown exemption that he received from Philadelphia. And I always tell people, hey, just because he got that big extension don't mean that he won't ask to be traded later. If things don't work out, we know how NBA stars do. They will go ahead, go kicking and screaming until they get traded. So all that means
James Harden did it. Let's talk about it. James Harden did it. The Brown did it. Anthony Davis did it. And now Damian Lillard is probably going to do it.
Yeah. And all that means is that these guys are smart because they understand that in order for them to get the maximum out of that situation, you have to get the hometown exemption, which means that, hey, you got that big time money. Wherever you go, they have to pay you that money. So, yeah, that's just smart business sense. I get it. Now,
guaranteed contracts, baby.
Guaranteed contracts, exactly, right? So he probably thinks he can win in Philly. The thing is whether or not they will, because like you said, Brooklyn and Milwaukee are already there. Teams like Miami and Chicago are getting better. What you gonna do?
Miami. Especially Miami.
So yeah, there are a lot of teams in the East that are getting that much better, and it'll be interesting to see how everything plays out. But yeah, that's with that. Since we're talking about basketball, this was going to bleed into football real quick. Remember, we talked about the Mountain Palace a couple of weeks ago, and we kind of had thankfully it didn't involve players. But my God, if we didn't have another messy situation in the stands, and
I know you're talking about. I'll let you introduce it. I know you're talking about.
I mean, if we can count on any state and any cities within that state, we can always count on the state of California and the city of Los Angeles to come through with fan violence. My God.
Yeah.
And this time it was brother on brother, because you had, for the first time ever, Sophie Stadium being open to fans in the second quarter of the game.
Preseason game.
Yeah, preseason game. The very first preseason game. You get Charger fans and Ram fans going at it. But like I said before, it's not necessarily shocking because we already know. I don't know what it is in that water or lack thereof in the state of California that, them Bamas in Oakland and San Francisco and Los Angeles, they like to nut if you buck, and they will pull Sandy. Well, they
especially Oakland.
Yeah, especially Oakland. Well, especially LA too.
LA
too.
Yeah.
They would occasionally pull San Diego in that situation too to go ahead and brawl. But my God, for those who haven't seen the footage, and I know you probably have because it's gone completely viral.
Super viral.
Super viral. Number one, the woman in that video who turned out to be the John Green of that entire situation. If you don't know who John Green is, go see the Mouse in the Palace. Oh my God, I just thought it was funny. I thought it was interesting how she threw the soda at the gentleman as the situation was actually starting to diffuse, just like the Mouse in the Palace, in order to spark the entire situation. Two, the brother that was wearing the Aaron Donald jersey that actually got beat down, props for him for pulling off the Larry Three Stooges backhand slap on them four pounds all at once. Man, it's been a very long time since I've ever laughed that hard at anything. This Bama is hitting the back of the head with a soda, turns around, and Three Stooges slaps all four of them Bamas at the same time. Now, they all proceed to beat the brakes off of them. And one of them legit punches him in the ass. But I digress. But the dude that also kicked him in the ass, that made him fall into everybody else to make that beat down that much worse. Interesting. And then, of course, the other fights that happened within the stadium, too. I'm like, yo, they are really wilding out in the second quarter of a preseason game? Is it really that? It's not that serious. But, yeah, that was just insane, that entire fight. My God. But for those in the D.C. area or those that live throughout the country and the world who are fans like myself of the Washington football team, it came out this week that the team is that much closer to coming up with a new nickname. So they did a video that they released on social media, and with all the names they released, it says here, here's a list of 8 names that were shown in a video that they released on Monday. It says that the team is still considering roughly 30 names a couple of months ago. But in this video that they showed like 8 names and a couple of potential logos. Now, one of the logos, oddly enough, was a bird. If you know me and Eagles and me and Falcons, Ooh, I don't get along. And Seahawks, I don't know if I want a bird on the side of my helmet. I might just lose it. But here are the nicknames that they released in the videos.
Mm.
The Armada.
Oh.
The Brigade. Commanders. Defenders. Presidents. Red Hogs. Red Wolves. And Washington Football Team. Mm. So those are the names that were released in the video. The video can be found on the football team's YouTube account, where they go ahead and they interview various fans and they talk to them about the various names and how we got here and their thoughts on the ideas they came up with. And then also his video on conversation between the team president, the coach, and the GM on what their favorites are. Even though they bleep out the names and blur out the logos that they say that they like. So yeah, that's slowly coming for those who are eagerly anticipating it. But if you're like me, I'm like, it'll come out when it come out.
Look, I understood why you don't want red tails, because you don't want the article to come out in Dallas or somewhere in Philly. So we cut that red tail.
Tails, no sir.
So I'm thinking red wolves. I like Red Hawks though. I would like if they were to do with the Miami University in Oxford, Ohio. They used to be called the Redskins, but now they're the Red Hawks.
I don't know if I want to do a bird.
But you don't like birds. But you have a version of natural version of birds, especially in Philadelphia. But which I think is big amongst the locals. It's a big rivalry with Dallas because of the proximity.
Well, it's Dallas more so because of the butthurt Bamas that live here in the area whose family members were teams of the Washington football team, and they didn't get no attention. So the best way to get attention is to go ahead and become a fan of the biggest rival of the biggest team here in the area, which is the Cowboys. Yeah.
But but I think Red Wolves is a favorite of mine. I think anything with red in it, it's gonna get the.
There are a lot of people who are giving nods to the Red Wolves as well. I just don't like the Red Wolves because I don't want fans coming in the FedEx howling like dogs when they get beat. I won't be able to deal with it. I won't be able to tolerate it. Like I said, I've always, once I started learning how to joan on Bamas in elementary, junior high school, I know what not to say and what not to do to bring attention to yourselves. And Red Wolves and Red Tails are just two names that just bring negative attention, especially if you can get beat. I just not. I'm not a fan of it. I just can't.
Well, understood. It's gonna be interesting, but it's understood. So I got you. I see what you're saying. So I might as well call it now. It's been a great podcast, man. Thank you, bro, for joining me as always. And
no diggity, no this out.
There you go, old school. And thank y'all for tuning in to this episode of the Klown Podcast. Please check us out on YouTube. Hit the subscribe button. Hit the bell button. Please like, share, and comment. I'd appreciate it if you didn't like it. I'm not going to give a shit, but even if you didn't like it, just say so and below in the comments and go from there as well. Also, check my man out here on the Yards at HBCU Sports, basketball things HBCU Sports. Lots of information there. Check him out every Tuesday night. Please check him out every Tuesday night on Facebook Live. Sleazy Radio. That's what it's called. Sleazy freaking radio, y'all.
Well, SLZE Sports.
Yes.
That's where you'll find us on Facebook. SLZE Sports. Every Tuesday night, Facebook Live. As a matter of fact, we're in the midst of our NFL previews. We did the NFC and AFC West last night. Next week, it's going to be the AFC and NFC South, if memory serves me correctly. And the little caveat that Coach likes to do every time we do the teams is he likes to play a song that's representative of that region. This year, it's bands that are from the city in which that NFL team plays. So now the ones that he's done in past years, it was television shows. This year, it is bands that are from that particular city. So like I said, we've already done the West Coast. We're about to move on to the South. It's going to be very interesting to see who Coach brings up. Oh, I'm waiting to see who he pulls up for DC. I really am. If it's not go-go based, if it's not go-go based, I might feel some kind of way.
There you go.
It is what it is, though.
He's gonna come correct. I have faith in Coach. He's gonna come correct.
I don't know. It took a lot of abuse from me for him to finally play 2-2-7 for DC when we talked about the DC football team.
There.
Oh yeah, I'm like, Joe, you can't play 2-2-7, man. Yeah, I digress.
And also, speaking of other great work, Hero Sports.com, he mentioned it earlier. HeroSports.com. Lots of great work on his on there as it pertains to FCS athletics, as it pertains to HBCUs. And one last thing, also, theclowntimes.net. Check out my website there. I got my own division by division previews. I did the AFC South today, AFC West tomorrow, and you saw my man Dwayne put on his cap. Get the merch.
Get the merch.
CafePress.com, social Clown Time Sports. As I said earlier, the link is in the description. It's going to be in the description when it's uploaded to YouTube Friday morning. So check it out as well. I see Bob into some beats right there. So I'm gonna bob my ass on now. Let's just say peace out, peace and hair grease. See y'all next week.